let me say a pleasant good morning to our listeners, those of you via Classic Radio 105.5, 105.9. Good morning, and how are you doing? Hope all is well this lovely Monday morning. My viewers via of course, GBN TV. Well, I'm going to say Classic Radio again. GBN TV, whether it's channel 7, 11, or channels 20. Our social media audiences, of course, good morning. Wherever you are around the world, you're locked on. Good morning to you. Thanks for being with us. And welcome to another edition of To The Point. Today, Monday, the 23rd day of October. And usually on Mondays we do entertain Mr. Of course, my guest, and I'd like to call my partner in crime. That's Mr. Silver McIntyre. I haven't seen him arrived as yet for whatever reason. I'm certainly sure he will probably pop in shortly. Didn't indicate to me that he was not going to be here with me this morning. I'm not sure if he's running late for whatever reason, and I was certainly going to give him a couple of more minutes to hopefully he gets here and we kick off. Interesting conversation we should be having today, and when he arrives, we certainly will get into that conversation. In the meantime, let me see how you're doing this morning, folks, especially those of you probably how the weekend was for you. Did you get to do lots of stuff over the weekend? Did you take a time out to reminisce on certain aspects of your life, of certain aspect of this country? Did you take the time out for that this weekend? And certainly hope you did take time out to do that. Was there a lot of family time spent? If you had the opportunity to do so over the weekend, did you spend time doing that? And you can see my guest has just arrived, and certainly they say sometimes it's a little late than ever at all, and he's certainly here with me this morning. I'm gonna allow you to come on. Even though I've already started the show this morning. I certainly will allow you to pop in, and you can grab your seat. Everybody's going to be seeing that you're late this morning for whatever reason. I understand. I was saying there's probably something that has delayed you a wee bit this morning. But nice to have you with you this morning. How are you doing this morning?
I am great, excited as usual to be on.
All right.
And to be with our listeners, our followers, and everything else on the GBN Monday morning.
All right. Yeah. Well, nice to have you back with me this morning. I was off for a couple of weeks, and suddenly everything rolls smoothly while in my absence, and you took care of things. I did watch a couple of the shows, so I think it really rolled out nicely. We'll be back this morning once again, folks, and we have a lot to discuss this morning, as I mentioned, and we're certainly going to get into that. Let's get into the conversation as we about. So, how was the week gone by, or was it what major incidents may have taken place that you may want to enlighten or remind? Sometimes it's a bit of a reminder, if you could say it like that. It's a bit of a reminder, for a listener and viewing audience. Anything you want to kick it off with that?
Yeah, sure. October 19th, definitely.
Yes.
Fell in the middle almost of the week, towards almost the latter part of it, yes. And October 19th is a big day for us. Mm-hmm. And again, we want to commend the initiative for Heroes Day's recognition. It's the first of its kind, and I think in our last program we highlighted some of the issues coming through the 1979s all the way up to
that led up to that time.
Mm-hmm. And we also intimated that those of us who are here, we are happy to be part of this new chapter of Grenada's history.
All right.
Definitely, it's a new chapter in Grenada's history that we all are proud to be part of, and we're also absolutely elated that the administrations have seen it fit to recognize those who have contributed positively to Grenada's development. Yeah. And while we understand that there are issues of controversies and differences, I think at the bottom line, Grenadians are the ones who are at center front of everything, regardless of which side of the coin you want to be. Yeah. At the end of the day, we would look at how Grenadians either benefited for the process that came through. Mm-hmm. And those who lost their lives, whether it was for or against, it was Grenadians, and everyone who lost their lives, they were doing it for a cause that they thought that they had to have done it for. Yeah. And so we really recognize Heroes there, and I think coming out of that holiday, people were happy for the rest, relaxation, and reflection. But I think the rally itself was a massive success. Yes. With all of the visitors who came through and all of the recognition and admiration. I heard Prime Minister himself, expressing to the family of Maurice Bishop, thank you for, sharing Maurice Bishop with us. So regardless of what people feel or think, every aspect of Grenada's history has a part and has contributed towards whether it causes us to go back and think. It causes us to think where we are, and it causes us also to plan and project where we would want to be and think that we should not do different.
On a personal note, from your personal perspective, what would you like to see added to the day that would be of more significance to you? What would you like to see from a personal? Maybe you said there was today everything rolled up smoothly. You like what you saw, but if there was something more that you would like to see added to that particular day from your personal perspective, what would it be?
I think it's the first of its kind.
Yeah.
And it's the first time a national recognition has gone into, and again,
I guess they're going to be tweaking as it goes along.
That's correct. But from my personal point of view, it is not a time that people should really rejoice, although if you are part of another section, you might be happy that it actually happened. But I think the national thing there was for the emphasis to reflect, and I think we could have created more aspects of the reflections, bring out more of the issues that were there so people understand them a bit more, and there should be more national involvement at community levels where people can understand, well, this person or persons from this community, they may have sacrificed their lives and so on. And I'm sure going forward, as they recognize Heroes Day and heroes, that you will see monuments and things being erected in some communities where these people are from. So I think from that point, the community in reflection is the aspect I think that could have been enhanced a bit more, where people could get a sense of organization and reflection on the day itself.
All right.
So that was October 19th.
Yes.
And so we rallied all the way through the region, and it came down to almost a couple of days ago where we were threatened again by a tropical storm that actually rushed through really quickly and went up to hurricane in quick time. And
I saw some videos out of Barbados. They had some severe flooding up there.
Barbados had some flooding, and we had Antigua and Barbuda. Well, Antigua itself was spared, but Barbuda got a hitting. They got some water, they got some wind and so forth, and they did have some level of damage. Fortunately, it was not as severe as recent times when they were decimated by other storms. But it's the reality of the time. The forecasters did predict that it was going to be an above average season. It has lived up to its expectation in terms of the number of systems coming through. Again, fortunately for us in Grenada, all we had to have done was look at them, smile at them as they go through.
We had a natural display of how do you call it, the fireworks, if you could say that.
Yes, of course, with the thunder and the lightning coming
so
through. I also think that people should now begin to get accustomed to tropical conditions, and that lightning and thunders.
You think anyone going to actually get accustomed to natural disasters? You think people in general will actually get accustomed to natural disasters?
Well, not the disasters themselves, but the event that
itself
can create disasters. Like, people may have different feelings, a phobia for different things. For instance, people can't stand lightning, but to other people, it's just exciting. They just would love to see it. The thunder, it sends a particular feeling for some people, especially people who are just in touch with nature. The lightning and the thunder just rolling. I know one lady who worked with me last time around, and she said, whenever lightning and thunder comes around and storm, I try to follow them because I love them. I just love to take the pictures of them and so forth. But coming out of Hurricane Ivan, and Emily for recent times and what has happened in the region, people are still traumatized when they hear of tropical anything. So those of us who came through Hurricane Ivan, I don't fear them technically. Especially
individuals who have felt the brunt of it. You understand?
Right.
Maybe lost their homes and what it was like to be vulnerable for some people in when that occurred. The vulnerability of it. So when people hear these things coming back again, it's set up put them in a sort of a mood that is not pleasant.
Absolutely.
It's not pleasant.
But the Met Services of the region, they have been doing a fantastic job. I think they have been upgrading the systems to be able to do early warnings better. I also think there's still limitations within the system to get people more used to the terminologies and the effects of something that can happen. I think we need to see a lot more community engagement where forecasting and weather information is concerned. And people need to understand first the things that are dangerous and how they can affect us. So the hazards associated with lightnings, hazards associated with thunder, rain, etc. And so when people hear of a tropical wave, they hear of a trough, they hear of a depression, they hear about tropical storms and hurricanes. If they understand how they develop, if they understand the phases of them, and so I think they will become less apprehensive when they happen. Because we've had for centuries tropical depressions and tropical waves coming through.
There's nothing new to the world, or even our neck of the woods here in the Caribbean. There's nothing new.
Yes.
You understand? But maybe, you see, after Hurricane Janet, there's never been anything of that significant, especially in terms of Grenada.
Right.
If it's from Grenada, after when Ivan and then Emily.
Right.
There's never been any. So it's like a recent thing for us, for some people, especially a particular generation around that time. You know, getting into a hurricane was like something first time they're feeling something of that nature. Even though from time to time we did have, occurrences of system popping through. We may get the rain, we may get heavy the floodings and so forth. But nothing of the nature where we saw hundreds of people being disposed of. In terms of, when I say disposed of, I mean their houses and so forth. Displaced and stuff like that. It had never been that way. So I guess the memory of that will always
roll on and kind of create some fear. And knowledge, as we agree, would decrease your level of fear and apprehension if you know what will or will not happen. And so I think even the media houses, you guys, you have a lot to do with how you are able to alleviate people's fear. You're able to cause them to be calm, because you would give them the information and say, well, you know what, if there's something that's happening that's dangerous, for instance, over the last couple of days, people heard of Tropical Storm Tammy and then Hurricane Tammy, and they were calling the Met Office, they were calling NADMA's office, and they were asking what's going on. And the point is, people are not so tuned to information as they should, the right kind of information. And so we think that the experts does not really have to expand too much on what they've given.
Yes.
But I think once they've given, the media houses who have access to the information, I could say, people, listen, if there is something to be said for your own protection, we have experts who are there, they have access to the information, they're going to let us know. If they did not say anything to you or didn't say anything to fear of, because Met Office has been saying, once there is a tropical system, for instance, Tammy, they have been saying that Tammy poses no threat to us, because the formation, they were like 58 degrees, we had something like 14 degrees north latitude and all of that. So when you have those distances and you understand your geographic location of Grenada, you're 60 west and 12 north and so forth, you understand that system is already above Grenada. It poses no threat. So then people have to understand, well, it's likely that we're going to get some rain. Yeah, we're going to have thunder associated with it. Like they said this morning, the weather is going to be overcast and a possible chance of thunder. If you hear thunder roll, you know it's not going to be falling off the sky and mash up your buildings and so on. Don't worry. If the lightning flash, it's not that fog lightnings or otherwise, then is no real danger. And you understand, if lightnings are going to flash, you need to keep metal things away from your hands or otherwise in such a way.
Especially if you're in the outdoor.
Or in your outdoor and all that. Areas. So we think that the information should become, again, I like to say community, more user-friendly, brought down to layman's language. You repeat it more often as people get used to it, so then it's no big deal.
I sometimes go by the simple saying, no news is good news,
yeah? And could we trust those?
I mean, not all time. Not at all.
Could we trust NADMA? Could we trust the Met Office to give us the right information, the timely information? I think we should. We should. Because,
90% of the time, if I give them a high percentage, the information that is disseminated is always on point.
No, the guys are okay. They're really good.
It's always on point.
And NADMA will not report anything meteorological unless they get it from Met Office.
Exactly.
And Met Office, they're part of the regional and global system that they report. There are some of us who have access to information, sometimes even before Met Office, because you get information directly sometimes from the weather center, sometimes before it gets, because the Met Office has to get it and they have to break it down to our own neck of the wood.
Yes.
So sometimes we have the raw information that Met Office also may have access to. But what they're doing, they have to extrapolate, they have to break it down so that Grenada, our region, our zone, we get it specific. So sometimes it is a bit later than some people who may have access to it earlier on. So it's not that we can't trust them. hats off to you guys. Enough respect to Metafis and NADMA for the work that you're doing.
All right. So when we drew for a break, we're going to take it. But when we come back, we have a little bit of a discussion we want to get into this morning with our main theme focusing on, manage and mitigating the risk of human-caused disasters.
Yes.
That's our main theme in terms of the discussion this morning.
Yes.
Our discussion this morning, we want to do we spoke a wee bit on October 19th in terms of just the past week. We want to discuss October 25th.
It's upcoming.
Upcoming. The significance, was it a rescue mission, an intervention, an invasion?
Yes.
I maybe was too young to remember everything about it.
I'll tell you.
And you would probably tell me more about it when you come back. I was at an age where I should remember a whole lot of it, but back then, the kind of emphasis young people would put into events of that nature was different in comparison to now.
Yeah.
Young folks now, they will put a lot of energy into everything in terms of the technology and so forth that they have access to.
Yeah.
Back then, I could care less what was taking place. I think I would play. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what would be nice? We will invite some of our listeners to call in. And they will give
you were young, maybe they were young at that particular time or youngster. I remember going to the pre-primary school back then, so I was caring less about what's happening at that nature. I wasn't even at the secondary level yet.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
Let's take a break.
So you know what? The people that will call, the usual callers, they were from that area, I'm sure they will chime in.
All right, let's take a break. We're coming right back, folks. Stay with us.
Hey, Bill, glad to... Climate Reality Key Takeaways is made possible by Republic Bank.
This is our planet. It's our home. We all have a stake in ensuring its protection and preservation, not just for ourselves, but for future generations. And Republic Bank is very pleased to be leading that charge through our policies, our processes, our products, and our projects. And so if you or your community group have an idea that specifically focuses on a project that would aim at reducing the impact of climate change and helping to develop resilient climate adaptive infrastructure, please reach out to us. Submit your proposal to rbgdinfo@rfhl.com. You can get additional information from our website, republicgrenada.com.
Financing for your solar project is not hard to get. Just give us a call, 444-2265. Speak to any one of our loan officers, and we can guide you in the direction which you need to go.
Accountability is extremely important, not because it's grant funds. We will just make any crazy rash decision. Because it is the taxpayers' money that we have to manage and ensure that it's invested in what it is assigned to. So grant money is not free money, although people see that way. It has to be invested for the benefit of the whole community. And that is the principle that we function on.
Climate change is real. We must act now.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers. It's Monday, the 23rd of October, 2023. And welcome back once again. October is a very significant month in the history of Grenada.
Yeah.
And our conversation in this segment going to lead to, of course, this particular date, October the 25th, and the significance of this particular date in our history.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, you're going to probably tell me a whole lot. I remember the reason. I understand from growing up now. I understand the reasons we were given this particular date.
Yeah.
To get to as a holiday. Now let's talk about the significance of October 25th.
Yeah.
From the rescue mission, the intervention, the invasion.
Yeah.
40 years pass on it.
Yeah.
Tell me what I need to know about what I need to know.
Yeah. And the bottom end of that, there'll be a lot of people, activists, scientists who would speak of October 25th and they would give their analysis of it. But from our point of view, we always like to look at the cause, the effects, and solutions.
Yes.
And how could we mitigate what might have happened? So there would have been no October 25th if there was no March 13th.
Yes.
And if, as a result of October 25th, or no October 25th, there was no October 19th.
Exactly.
So they all had their links. And then if there wasn't the era of the 1950s, where there was a leader that people perceived was not going the way that the majority wanted, then there would not have been a March 13th. And so as it came to October 25th and what happened then, it was the beginning or the end of a new beginning or the beginning of an end, technically. And for some people, the naming of October 25th, it depends on how you view it. The name will be significant to you. So if you look at the terminologies used, the names was invasion.
Yes.
And for the military people and for the authority then that held to the sovereignty of what Grenada should stand for at the time, anyone coming in that sense would have been invading Grenada.
Okay.
And for those who thought that there was a need for an intervention, maybe not necessarily military or otherwise, but there had to have been something to bring a common ground to what was happening. There had to have been somewhere, someone, something to intervene, to bring peace or to bring a settlement to an issue. So when there is industrial actions or otherwise, the trade union would intervene. There would be an intervention of the trade union to bring.
Right, and that's what the trade union council now, where the TCU comes in if they need to come in and have some upcoming resolution to whatever is taking place.
And so for that end, that seems to be the mild way, the middle ground, where people would say, there had to have been some. So that was an intervention.
Okay.
And the other one, which connotes a rescue mission, whether or not there was a mission to rescue Americans, students, as was generated then, or whether it was a rescue mission to rescue Grenadians from the Revolutionary Military Council that had the country under siege for at least a couple of days a week.
So that's debatable there.
And that is debatable. But from a personal experience, I was there through all of the events I was there for March 13th, 1979, to October 19th, and October 25th. So I have a fair idea as to connecting the pieces and to what went on. And I understood the feeling of the people then when October 25th happened. Because the feeling generally on the ground was that if you are going to be placed under house arrest, there would be an all-day and all-night curfew. People on the streets were going to be shot at sight. That sends fear, right, and sends chills right through your spine. And if you understand and you're seeing armored vehicles, military persons parading the streets, and you understand that the legitimate head then of the government, which was a revolutionary government, and legitimate is in because people have the feeling as to whether or not the revolution was legitimate.
Nobody
was a prime minister.
Nobody was voted in or anything of the sort. So the legitimacy of it was questionable.
Was questionable as well. Yeah. But there was a prime minister.
Yeah.
And if the prime minister and the cabinet members, some of his cabinet members were killed, and some people may say killed, others may say assassinated, others say, and the terminologies could be used. But if that happened, it says that you have serious problems. So people were under house arrest, people were on the inside, people were in fear, people didn't understand what was going to happen, where Grenada was going to go. Because if you hear these announcements, and I heard them, I listened to some of the clips from the redemption time over the weekend, and the tapes that were played, you heard the announcement from the head of the military that's saying what happened on the fort and everything else, and it sends those kind of a chills across your body. Yeah. And you wonder, where will Grenada go? And if you are on the inside and everywhere is locked down, you tell yourself there has to be some intervention. Somebody either need to invade or there need to be some rescue mission that this situation can come to an end. Yeah. So in my analysis, that's the genesis of the naming of October 25th. And then October 25th rolled out to happen. And then it is called Remembrance Day.
Yes.
Who do you want to remember then on that day? Or is it Remembrance or is it Thanksgiving?
It's a Thanksgiving. I think it's called Thanksgiving.
I think, Heroes Day is the one
for October 19th.
Heroes Day, October 19th, and so forth. And Thanksgiving Day then is October 25th.
Yeah, I don't think we have a Remembrance Day. Do we have a Remembrance?
No, I think the same one was one time called Remembrance by
and then it changed to October 25th.
So October 19th.
Thanksgiving.
Remember.
I remember that now.
And that again, the Remembrance Day was generated by a small group. I think it's the Maurice Bishop Patriotic Movement.
Yes, that political organization.
Group and so forth, which was really cool. And so you had the 25th, which is Thanksgiving Day. And it seemed as though Thanksgiving had its real meaning the first 25th, after that initial 25th where you had that intervention.
And then it kind of lost its significance.
And then down the road, maybe the information, the different sides of the coin, people begin to think and come up with, really and truly, what are we thankful for?
Yeah, thankful for the rescue mission, the invasion, or the intervention. What are we thankful for?
In my analysis, the general feeling of October 25th was Thanksgiving that the situation
was resolved. Okay.
So whether
it can be accepted,
whether it was by an intervention, an invasion, or a rescue mission, I think Thanksgiving is well in place to be able to thankful to the Almighty that institution was resolved. And whether people want to say thank you to the forces that came to Grenada to help to bring the situation to a resolve, it is still deserved to be Thanksgiving.
Thankful for.
But the crux of the conversation that we want to hold, based on my areas of expertise, is the risk associated with that. That was then a human catastrophe because a number of people lost their lives.
Yes.
And this is what you call human interventions or human-caused events that become a disaster. The question is, how do we mitigate or how do we prevent and alleviate a reoccurrence of things of that nature happening? Human nature, human interventions would be generated by a cause and by a perception as to what you would want a situational condition to be. So when 1979 occurred, there was an atmosphere and there was a feeling in country as to whether or not we would want the condition to continue as is. And if we don't want this situation to continue, what actions can we take to make it different? And so there was this insurrection and there was this uprising that said, if we cannot get the result that we want in a particular way, we want to work for the greater good of Grenadians. So whether people accepted the 13th of March or not, the intent that was propagated then was that it was for betterment for the people of Grenada. And people should be at the focus of everything else. And so those that rose up and generated that revolution, the intent understood, or what was then expressed, was that wanting betterment for the people of Grenada, the majority, or Grenadians as a whole.
Yes.
And when that worked to a point where there was the 19th of June, 1979 again, when there was this bomb blast. That was again another human-caused event where it was catastrophic. People lost their lives. What was the root cause of that? There were people, again, of factions who may have felt that what they were seeing, what happened, was unjust, and that they wanted to make a difference. Or whether they wanted to turn back the revolution, or whether they wanted to have sent a message. We don't know what was the real issue. But again, there was some cause, there was some reason, and so there was an action. It went on into October 19th, 1983.
Yes.
Understanding what the information propagated, that there were differences of rulership, there was differences of opinion, there was intent to have gone particular direction, and there were disagreements again. And each faction then, the two factions, as we understand it then, the people was at the center of it.
Yeah.
One faction was saying, that's what the people want. Another faction was saying, that's not what the people want. And again, there was a result. A group of persons emerged and expressed themselves and declared themselves the rulers of that. And then there seems to have been a period where it was understood, perceived from internal and external, that Grenada was in a state of turmoil. And therefore, there had to have been some reason to create a platform that, again, the people will benefit from. Whether it was acceptable, whether it was reasonable, otherwise, what was analyzed then was that the majority of people, Grenadians, were not happy with that end state, and there had to have been some middle ground where that situation could be resolved and a sense of normalcy could return. In all of this, though, how do we prevent that?
Yes. That's where the question
is coming from. And that's what
we're mitigating into there right now. And that's where the human cause.
The human cause comes in. And the human interest also coming. So, is a revolution possible in Grenada again? Big question. Could it happen? Are revolutions possible for the Caribbean? Will people want to stand up with the guns or otherwise to seize power if they perceive that things are not going the way that they want it?
Yeah.
And is trying to seize power by force or by ballot, what's the better option? Are we following a democratic process of identifying and having our leaders? And if our leaders are not doing what we think they should do for the majority of people, should we rise up with arms, or should we find other processes of changing to get the right people or the right leaders in? These situations, as we analyze them throughout history, they have been generated a lot through industrial actions and the lifestyles of people and how people live and the conditions that they were under drove the situation. And under most circumstances, when people are unhappy with their state of life, they would move to conditions and actions that they feel will bring some resolve. Is that the kind of way that we would want to go, that we've gone in the past? And is it possible for these things to happen? So we will open up as to the pros and cons as to whether or not a revolution is possible. Again, in Grenada, in the Caribbean. Is it something that people would encourage? I don't know. I know of no one probably would want to openly come on the air and say, well, you know, revolution is possible and people should go the means of revolution. And I would not give my personal expression as to whether or not that would be, but what we would want to be able to examine as to how, as we spoke of national security issues, the threats to that, and what could lead to that, and what could lead to unrest, what could lead to turmoil, and how should we find the middle ground to allow the process of electing leaders appointing leaders, installing leaders should happen, and how, as national security issues and things that we should try to do to mitigate and to generate conditions that will want people to think that they have to rise up in anger to seize power.
When you use the word mitigate, that's why I think I think the Grenada as a whole now has gotten to a level where I think folks are thinking at a much broader level right now. Would you agree with me?
Yes.
And not wanting to get ourselves entangled in situations of that nature anymore. You know,
Yes.
I will certainly think so.
Yes.
You know, being a youngster myself, I don't think I would want to be or see another revolution, show its face in Grenada again for whatever reason. So I think the mindset of individuals now are different to back then, to a point.
And you personally don't think that a revolution will survive in this era?
I personally don't think so.
Right.
Let's take a call and see what this caller has to offer. Caller, good morning, welcome.
Good morning, gentlemen. Mr. McIntyre, how are you, sir? And GT.
Morning.
Listen, I prefer to use the word prevention rather than mitigation, because the events leading up to 1979 and post 1983, to 1983, is all man-made. And I think, as Mr. McIntyre is fully aware of, man-made disasters are prevention. That is your focus, that's your methodology, prevention. So you would prevent man-made disasters. So anything that is man-made or any action that man would take that would cause a disaster or result in a disaster should be prevented. Good. Bearing this in mind, let me say this. The major issue, not only in the Caribbean, but throughout the world, in sovereign countries, is governance. Do we want governance or a type of governance where the leaders or so-called leaders operate in a manner or the action is of such that is satisfied a selfish, ego-centered ambition, or they serve selflessly, which would be in the interest collectively of this sovereign nation? And this is something we have to understand. Not reacting to events or reacting to something that happened, but how do we prevent those catastrophic events that set a nation or people's life centuries back? Thank you very much, sir. Have a good day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much. Mitigating and preventing, as he mentioned.
Yeah. There's a thin line between a prevention and a mitigation, whether it's human cause or otherwise. And even after 9/11 and so, America has not been able to prevent all of the destructions that happen and the crises of terrorist actions.
Yes.
But they have been able to mitigate quite a bit of it because of intelligence and instrument that they put in.
I agree with you from that one. Let's listen to the other caller. Caller, good morning, welcome.
Yes, good morning to you and your guest, sir. Now, I have some concerns. You may not be very sensible, but to me it makes sense. Heroes Day and October 19th. I don't know if any one of you ever tried to mix oil with water. And no matter how you shake the container, when it settles, the oil remains by itself and the water remains by itself. The occurrences on October 19th still dominates the minds of people over 50 years old. Right now, I'm 3 days older than 80 years old. And from the time people say October 19th, I remember the saddest day in my experience in the history of Grenada. the slaughter of people, I can say I'm glad, I can say I'm sorry. And the shooting down of people by criminals. People were killed. Are they heroes? People did the shooting and locked down the country for 6 consecutive days. Were they heroes? As a matter of fact, people were confused. People were horrified. People were bewildered, not knowing what would happen. I still wonder what could have happened had October 25th not come. But you must see it from a longer perspective. March 13th, 1979 was a day of murder when a so-called legitimate elected government was overthrown. Perhaps if Gary was here, he might have been slaughtered, but people were killed on that day. From March 13th, 79 to October 19th, that is 4.5 years, every effort was made to stabilize the country. But what hurt me most, the head of that so-called government, not elected government, but the head of the then government was a lawyer. And I took my eyes and saw that people, hundreds of people, not afforded due process in law. People who were arrested for virtually nothing, simply because they didn't hey and jump up. And lots of people were leaving Grenada because they were afraid. And you are a lawyer who stood for law and defended people against the Gary regime. We have to bear in mind who killed by the sword may die by the sword. That's what happened on October 19th. I hope it never, but however, I am beginning to see today, and both of you would not agree with me, the NDC of 2000 to 2005, the NDC of 2008 to 2013, and now above all, the NDC of 222. The NDC of 222 is a reincarnation of the PRG. When I saw on the Tempest playing field in the year 2022, people were asked to take off their cell phones and put the flashlight on, and the spirit of Maurice Bishop was called on. I realized we are back into the PRG age. I don't know, but Grenada needs some prayer. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Thank you for your, how could I describe it?
His intervention or his contribution to the program.
All right. So then we drew for a break. Yes. I know this conversation could continue, but we drew for a break. Let's take it. We just have approximately 15 more minutes left on today's program. Let's take that break. We got to take it. We're coming right back.
GT3 Caribbean.
Our Climate Reality Key Takeaways is made possible by Republic Bank.
This is our planet. It's our home. We all have a stake in ensuring its protection and preservation, not just for ourselves, but for future generations. And Republic Bank is very pleased to be leading that charge through our policies, our processes, our products, and our projects. And so if you or your community group have an idea that specifically focuses on a project that would aim at reducing the impact of climate change and helping to develop resilient climate adaptive infrastructure, please reach out to us. Submit your proposal to rbgdinfo@rfhl.com. You can get additional information from our website, republicgrenada.com.
Financing for your solar project is not hard to get. Just give us a call, 444-2265. Speak to any one of our loan officers, and we can guide you in the direction which you need to go.
Accountability is extremely important. Not because it's grant funds, we will just make any crazy rash decision. Because it is the taxpayers' money that we have to manage and ensure that it's invested in what it is assigned to. So grant money is not free money, although people see that way. It has to be invested for the benefit of the whole community. And that is the principle that we function on.
Climate change is real. We must act now.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers. It's to the point for today, Monday, the 23rd. Welcome back once again, Mr. Silver McIntyre and me this morning. We know we usually do this on a Monday here on Classic Radio and GBN TV. And our main theme this morning, as we went through managing and mitigating the risk of human-caused disaster. And we were trying to put October 25th from we went all the way back to March 13th, 1979.
To contextualize it.
To contextualize it, as you said, and to come forward to, the holiday of October 19th and October 25th. How they all fit into this? The human risk, the risk of human-caused disasters. Because most of what has happened, if there were any disasters between, if you want to theme it as that,
yes,
they were all human-caused.
Yes.
You understand? Yes. They were all human-caused. And we're accepting your calls. If some folks may have a different perspective in terms of what we're speaking of here, we want to hear your point. And I'm looking at a couple of the comments via the social media. We're probably going to get into them before we wrap, but let's entertain this caller and see what him or her has to offer.
Sure.
Caller, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning. So glad to be able to get through to the program. Well, I'll tell you something, just a very personal view. I have heard, some people say, yes, Grenada needs another revolution. My personal response to that is, please, before you all bring on this next revolution, let me know way in advance, and I'll find some other place to be. Because, wow, I couldn't go through that again. 15 years old at the time, living on the Carenage at the time, looking from my kitchen window, what people see in terms of videos of people leaping for their lives from the fort's walls, the armored cars firing on fellow Grenadians, and note I said fellow Grenadians, etc. One of the horrific things that really stuck to me was watching the trucks that went up after to clear up the dead bodies and body parts, etc. But something that kept coming to mind, and it has come to mind before, it would be an amazing feat. I don't know, I have to admit, how it would be gone about if some sort of film, it could be short, it could be maybe a radio drama, not a film, on certain aspects of certain things that happened in the Grenada Revolution and what led up to the 19th and then subsequently to the 25th. Because drama has a way of registering things, bringing things out, and we in the media are at the core of that.
And I don't know what you gentlemen would think of that suggestion. Of course, gathering, again, I repeat, such information would be a challenge. But when you have super talented people like Francis Urias Peters around, to head maybe such a proposed project or what I am putting forward, you never know what could come out. And just getting a drama series maybe on certain aspects of the events that led up to what we have been commemorating for all of these years. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, or the thoughts of any callers or viewers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much for your contribution this morning.
Well,
any response to the call?
Yeah, the caller is on point with this, and I think there's a current initiative that's on. I think he mentioned almost everything that should happen that is happening right now.
Yes.
Because Francis Urias has written something. It's ongoing right now. It's called Redemption Time. It's not an ad technically, but it relates to what's happening of Grenada's history. Right. And I think that's something that our younger people need to be in tune and to follow the history. We're not good enough in documenting our history. And as he said, film, the theater, arts, and written history is what we need to be able to document this. Off air, we were speaking about where will this all end and how will this situation be. Like, we're thinking about resolving issues, how the controversies and the differences of people win and how it will subside. I think we are on point now to find the middle ground. Now that Heroes Days, Thanksgiving, they're all recognized as they come through, and as people get older, there'll all be differences that people that came through the era would have. But as we recognize that it's our history and they happen, all we need to be able to do is to set up some form of recognition that it happened. We need to be able to set that we cannot change history, but what we can do is write chapter of what happened and not repeat history of the past.
And it's come down to the final saying, acceptance.
Acceptance.
That's the key point. It's going to come to a point that we're going to have acceptance. We may not get everybody accepting it, but if we get some majority, it's better than that. It will be better.
And God has to grant us the serenity to accept the things that we really can't change.
Excellent.
Because it's already gone.
Let's entertain another caller. Caller, good morning. You're welcome.
Good morning. My concern really and truly is...
Caller, before you continue, if you have any device in the background, please lower it, please. Or turn it off completely.
All right. Yes, I was saying that my concern really is for the bodies of those who died in the battle on October 19th. The U.S. administration at the time know about the body, and for whatever reason they hang on to it, and the bodies have not been handed back to the state. Without the bodies, there can be no closure.
All right, caller, thank you so much. Mr. McIntyre, I'm seeing a comment here from someone, and he continue asking me if I should repeat it to you so that you probably could give your opinion on it. And the individual is saying, I would like you to highlight after the people was put on the house arrest, aka curfew, shot on sight, and was given a few hours to shop for food items, water, had to be back indoors at least by 6 p.m. That's the question. Do you think that people were more scared, or was the demeanor of the people towards the RMC? I'm trying to guess
to get the essence of the question.
The essence of the question.
I know people.
I'm trying to say, do you think people are more scared of what the demeanor of the people towards? Did that change the demeanor of the people towards the RMC? I think that's what you're trying to say in terms of the question.
I know there was a great sense of fear in terms of what happened, because if you understand that a number of people are assassinated or were killed, you would be fearful. I think people were fearful that of the unknown. They didn't know where Grenada was going to go, and if there was an opportunity to get anything, people were going to grab at it. Yeah. If there was an opportunity to get food, people were going to get it because they didn't know what. Because there was a cloud of great uncertainty over Grenada. That's what will happen. And there was something propagated, like everything else, there's some level of propaganda. There was this thing that was going around there that there were a number of people's name who was on a list. Yeah. That was going around that to be assassinated, and that generated fear across country. Whether it was factual or not, but it was generally spoken about that those who died on the fort, those who got killed, they were saying that there are a number of persons that were listed to be killed, and that generated some level of fear. For just a great sense of fear and a massive cloud of uncertainty over Grenada at that time.
All right, let's entertain another caller. Caller, good morning, welcome.
Yeah, good morning. GT and morning, Mr. McIntyre. Sometimes it grieves me to see, to hear how people, how we regurgitate things that should have been sorted out a long time. It gives me a feeling that we are infants. We are continually living in a state of infantilism. Anyway, let me say that we focusing on October 19th. Ignoring the pain, the harm, the loss that we suffered on October 25th. Let me tell you, we lost an enormous part of our history. Once the invading force came and they bombed the radio station, this was not only for Grenada, for the Rhode Island, a repository of history, oral speaking now. We lost it forever. We had people who were bombed in the mental hospital, and people are making excuse for the invaders. I'm saying, and then we add insult to injury. We went and instituted a holiday for the invaders. In addition to that, we turned back the hands of time. Instead of having 4 we have 4 judges. Instead of having Bernard Bailey, second, we have Hattie secondary. We did all kind of effort not to name the Maurice Bishop Airport, but for what it rightfully deserves. And whether you like the 3 version of the NDC, they have done to me more for Grenada and trying to heal Grenada. Maybe they have not communicated them as many times. They have done things, including laws and so on, the family court and so on, which has not been done by the others. The others have only been doing solely. I know that this NDC also have to do some Uncle Sam's work, but by and large, remember who committed the sentence? We're going to be reeling you for more pain if, certain people had the way here. Also, even the thing with the Maurice Bishop Airport, it was them, and no. We have no idea whether we like how it was done. There's a day now we could always work out how it's been settled. When you think about it, and to me that's leadership. But let me end here and say that we are not checking on the trauma we focus on the 19, but the trauma that still lingers from the American invasion. I'm telling you because I myself suffer from trauma every time I hit thunder, not because I'm afraid. It reignites. The fear, the intimidation I felt during the week of October when the American invaded Grenada. Thank you very much.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much. So when we are a bit strapped for time, we're almost at that point of the morning when we have to wrap today's program.
So as we summarize the events of October 19th and October 25th, a day that is recognized for Thanksgiving, we have focused on the risk associated with human-caused events and how we can mitigate or prevent them. The underlying issue here happens to be the benefactors or the disadvantaged would be people.
Yes.
Administrations must be sensitive, be passionate to the cause of the people. When they perceive that their physiological needs are not satisfied in a way that it should be, they would find reasons to take actions for satisfaction. And therefore, all security issues, domestic issues, industrial conditions, they must be sought to become amicable within the shortest possible time. At the end of the day, our leaders are supposed to be leaders of the process and the providers and the directors as to how nations should head. And therefore, if the shortest possible means are sought, the connection and communication and engagement with the people, they seems to be genuine and timely. These can mitigate and prevent people from wanting to take actions that are unpopular.
All right. So, remember, today's theme, once again, managing and mitigating the risk of human-caused disaster. This could be expanded a whole lot.
For the week.
There's for the, if time permits, maybe next week we don't decide to change it. We could probably expand and talk a bit more, because I'm seeing a lot of folks want to contribute towards this conversation, and it's still something that is going to be embedded in our minds as Grenadians for a long time to come. And as we were saying off air when we had a conversation, are we going to get to that stage in the history of Grenada when the acceptance of what has happened? Will we ever get to that stage? We may not get that complete resolution of it, but we had with the acceptance of what happened, we'll never ever get to that stage. Yes. Hey, Grenada, that's where we're going to take a wrap for today's our program. Thanks all who contributed some way or the other, whether by calling in, those who made the comments via the Facebook, WhatsApp. Thank you so much. Until we have another program, till next week, Sylvan, thank you once again. Have a great day yourself, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Hey, folks, that's where we say goodbye for today's program. Have yourself a good one.